everyone, and it's time to go balls deep! And it's been a long time since I last said this about My Hero Academia, but this new chapter was fire! Today we are going to explain the truth regarding One for All and the other vestiges who were the previous holders. Chapter 304 reveals the secrets as to why One for All is so powerful, the real reason Deku was chosen to be the 9th, and last but not least, Deku could be the final user?
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Yes, that's right. My balls deep prediction quirk was correct once again, and you guys out there were like, oh my god, anime balls deep clickbaiting again. Even some of my Indian fans betrayed me, goddammit.
तू स्कैमर है मादरचोद रंडे का बच्चा मुंह बंद कर साले हरामजादा.
My power was so OP that we called this out almost a year ago. So not only was this analysis confirmed, the other prediction we all made as a community was regarding the fact that the public must have knowledge of Deku's secret with One for All. This is because we know Deku is actually narrating the story as the future #1 hero, but he was informing us about his life in a way where everyone already understood the concept of the quirk and what it is. This would make little sense unless it was public knowledge. As we saw in chapter 303, the reporters are already pestering the top heroes about what One for All means, as Endeavor muttered it during the war in the communication line. Endeavor also understands and connects the dots regarding the resonation between One for All and All for One, which proceeds with Hawks questioning its true nature and thinks it should be explained to everyone if they want to win the war against Shigaraki. Everyone demands to know the truth and why Deku is so important to them. So here's a round of applause to every single one of you. All of you used your big brain up there, use your critical thinking skills. You need to pat yourself on the back, guys. We all figured this out together. Alright, to understand how One for All works, let's look at chapter 304. Here we see Deku finally meeting all his predecessors in the vestige world and communicating with them. I'm sure you're wondering how Deku even got to this point, but basically One for All is like a living quirk and it's sentient and it even evolves. This is according to the first user, who is All for One's brother. One for All had been growing exponentially during the last 4 months, and the previous One for All users' likeness, their attributes, their personality, their freaking quirks were downloaded as the vestiges. Over time, this gave them the ability to start communicating with each other more and more, similar to how the avatar cycle works in Legend of Aang, to draw a simple analogy and comparison for you. I will explain this in further detail later on in the video, so make sure to stick around, otherwise the story won't make sense to you. Previously, Deku was only ever able to enter the vestige world and interact with the past users when he was mentally shaken, but after All for One tried to forcefully enter the vestige world, it became easier for Deku to meet them. But by the way, the 5th user, he made sure to tell him that he still has his privacy. You know what I'm saying? It's like Horikoshi watches our videos because we were all questioning that. You know what I'm saying? Imagine my man Deku was getting that Uraraka thing, you know, that punani, and you know, just imagine these mans were watching him doing what he does like a movie.
FBI, open up!
Now, inside the vestige world, only 2 One for All users weren't seated, and they're facing away from Deku. It's likely that these users haven't been unlocked in One for All yet, as the first user explained earlier that their DNA and profiles need to be downloaded more through the connection that is building over time with Deku. This is kinda like a character from a video game that's yet to be unlocked. The only reason why the past users were not able to interact with the current user of the time is because the quirk hadn't evolved to that point yet, which is why they didn't appear before All Might and only manifested in Deku as they passed the singularity. They confirmed that the quirk singularity theory that the doctor explained to All for One and the others and to the readers is actually true. Now, I know most of you are probably commenting at this point of the video and you probably read the chapter, you're thinking, oh my god, ABD. Why are these 2 previous One for All users looking away? It's the Bakugo time travel theory, isn't it? The hair, the gauntlets, and the physique, it's the same. On top of that, All Might and Deku are the only ones that didn't hear Bakugo's hero name when he declared it recently in the war. So that would provide even more evidence why All Might can't find any information, since Bakugo wouldn't be registered on the hero system if he traveled back in time. So this means this theory is correct, right? Right?
Oh, okay.
Listen everyone, it's up to you if you want to understand this time travel theory in the community, explaining how Bakugo could be the second one for all user. I have already extensively covered it a year ago, going into complete detail of how this could be a possibility. So if you are interested in knowing the Bakugo time travel theory, I will put it in the pinned comment. One half of us play with the idea and say, oh, it could be possible, whilst the other half believe Horikoshi is just trolling us with a false flag because there's no way he is introducing time travel to this manga. Let me know where your stance is in the comment section below, because I personally wouldn't mind if it's like Marvel's Endgame. I'm just saying. Now with that, Yusuf is going to take over explaining why One for All became so powerful, as well as why Deku could be the last successor to the quirk. Also, I want to thank you so much for joining our community and supporting us. Just to remind you, the anime is going to air next month and we will be covering My Hero Academia on a weekly basis. That's why it's so important that you need to smash the notification bell for the channel and like the video so you do not miss out on our content, as we will cover it weekly. I also, of course, want to shout out to all these lovely people of our community for buying our merch. You guys are appreciated. You got your shoutouts on Discord. You got your rank up. I appreciate you, man. And girls. And girls, of course. Alright, Yusuf, this is all good. Just take over.
Okay, let's get into all of this juiciness. So the first user for One for All explains to Deku that due to the overwhelming power of the accumulation quirk, any chosen user who already has a base quirk will not be able to utilize the power of One for All properly. The vestiges gives an example between the fourth user, Shinomori Hagake, who inherited the power of One for All on top of his alert quirk, and the eighth user of the quirk, All Might, who was quirkless. These two were the only ones who inherited the power without dying in battle. We learned that this dude is the reason why One for All is so much more powerful. He basically boosted the crap out of it. Like, imagine One for All was a bronze elo quirk and this man took it all the way to diamond. This is because due to his alert quirk, he became a hermit to avoid all dangers in life and took a different route to help the future users. Instead of directly fighting, he just continued training in the woods for 18 years to learn more about the One for All quirk and take it beyond its limits. Keep in mind that All for One was running rampant at this point of time, and he was searching for One for All to gain dominance over the whole world, killing all the past users. His alert quirk would have been going insane due to the amount of crime that was going on. Remember that All Might is the one that helped shape society further and lower down the rates of crime due to the fourth user helping this happen by boosting his power beyond limits. So we still gotta give this man some props. However, the repercussion for this is that the fourth user ends up dying at the age of 40 as the One for All quirk slowly burns away his life force. The first user actually gives an analogy of a metaphorical cup that is filled versus a cup that is empty, where the cup represents the user and the content inside is like the quirk. The first user continues to explain that what happened to the fourth user is like a cup that is filled to the top, and once he inherited the One for All quirk and it got stronger and stronger, the cup would eventually either crack or spill. But in All Might's case, because he was an empty cup to begin with, when he inherited the One for All quirk, he simply was able to make the quirk his own, maximizing its power without overspilling. This gave the vestiges a greater understanding of the One for All quirk by watching All Might through the model of his subconsciousness that is within the realm of the vestiges. In fact, initially the understanding of the vestige was a consciousness of the quirk itself, but they wondered on how All Might has a vestige if he was quirkless, which pushed the conclusion that All Might not only inherited the One for All quirk, but was able to integrate it to himself like it's his very own. In essence, the One for All quirk offers the quirkless to have overwhelming potential when they inherit the power. The round table of vestiges then comes to the conclusion that they will not risk passing on the quirk onto normal people who are blessed with quirks of their own, as then the power wouldn't be used to its fullest and would be dangerous for the user since the quirk singularity is true, so they would end up dying, causing more harm to themselves, just like alongside the 4th user. We also kinda get an indication that these guys actually inspired All Might to choose Deku, which I actually theorized not too long ago. I mentioned a couple of videos back on how the vestiges actually passed their will onto All Might to choose Deku over Mirio. This idea is also substantiated in the Vigilante manga, where All Might says that there is a burning will inside of him pushing him to save others. To add to this, due to the evolution of society and the quirk singularity, the chance of being born quirkless is becoming extremely rare, if not impossible. When My Hero Academia first started, in chapter 1 we were told there was about 80% chance that you will be born with a quirk. This number will increase more and more over time, which will make it very unlikely for Deku to find someone worthy to inherit the quirk and was powerless just like him. The vestiges then comes to our boy Deku, who's also like All Might, quirkless, and hence the true user of One for All. And they tell him that due to this change in society, with the potential applicants for One for All being very limited, the vestiges declare that Deku is possibly going to be the last successor of the One for All quirk. With this responsibility on Deku's shoulder, chapter 304 ends with Nana Shimura, the 7th holder, asking if Deku is ready to kill her grandson. Now with that, let's talk about what could transpire next for Deku. Deku given the task to kill Shigaraki is particularly important when it comes to the One for All quirk, because as we have seen time and time again, it is anger and emotions which have led Deku to unlock the different types of quirk within One for All. If you go all the way back to the beginning where Deku first used One for All, it was his will and emotion that saved Uraraka, which led him to activate it. Or when Deku used Float to save everyone from Shigaraki's decay. This was the direct link between one's emotion and One for All quirk. Basically what I'm trying to say is that every time Deku undergoes an emotional moment, he becomes closer with his power, increasing it and potentially being able to wield the other quirks. The first user even tells us that in this last 4 months, One for All has grown exponentially while Deku underwent rigorous training in preparation for the war. In conclusion, Deku can already use 4 out of the 6 quirks: the base All for One, his Float, Black Whip, and now Alert. After this encounter of the vestiges, maybe he will unlock the other quirks. He still has to figure out who the 2 users are in the back of the chairs and what their quirk are in the first place, but we all know that these 2 additions will help him overcome the challenges he will face. His moral dilemma with Shigaraki could lend him into another situation which may unravel the final remaining mystery of One for All. Or Deku will actually be able to learn these quirks before he goes out in the final war against All for One. Plus, there is also a chance that Deku might be able to bring Shigaraki out of the darkness, as at the end of the previous war, Shigaraki didn't like being taken over by All for One's will. It's possible that Deku might save Shigaraki, redeeming him, but Shigaraki will still die in the process. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. Now you all know more about One for All and how powerful Deku has become. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button and notification bell to show your support. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and we will see you guys next time.